Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We got a brand new story to share with you. So, let's begin. My name is Charles, and here's what happens when someone takes everything that was built with open hands and tries to walk away like none of it cost anything. There are only two ways to answer that kind of message: break down or stand up. When my girlfriend Allison texted that she'd found someone else and wanted nothing more to do with me, I chose the second option. And within a week, it wasn't my phone ringing. It was her lawyers. We met through a mutual friend, someone I trusted. Timing mattered. Life had just started making sense in all the ways that don't happen by accident. I'd been 3 years into the firm. I showed up, did my work, made sure people could depend on me, and kept doing it when no one was clapping. Slowly, the right eyes noticed. One afternoon, I got called into a senior partner's office for a short, serious conversation and walked out with a promotion letter. It didn't feel like magic. It felt like every late night and weekend I'd traded for quiet progress, finally paying dividends. The package came with real upgrades, better pay, a monthly allowance, and a company-issued SUV that looked like it didn't belong when I parked it outside my old apartment. That's when I realized it was time to move. My life was changing. My address needed to reflect it. I found a place in a quieter neighborhood and mentioned to that friend that I was open to meeting someone decent. A week or two later, she said, "I might know someone. She's quiet, but she's solid. I think you two would click." That's how Allison came into the picture. From the first conversation, something felt different. She was sweet, ambitious, and in those early days had a way of being emotionally present that felt rare. I'll admit, part of why I gave so much benefit of the doubt came from who introduced us. I trusted her judgment. In my head, Allison came pre-vetted. As months went by and things turned serious, the edges of real life showed up. Allison started struggling financially. The requests were small at first. Short on groceries one week, a small bill another. I didn't think twice. I helped. It wasn't heavy, and it felt good to make her days easier. One night over dinner, she said she was done with the corporate grind. The 9-to-5 had become a cage, and she wanted something on her own terms, an online store for fashion, accessories, lifestyle items. I nodded, asked about structure, marketing, timelines, not to pick it apart, just to understand where she was pointing. A week or two later, I learned she'd already quit her job. No heads up. I remember asking, "What preparations did you make before resigning?" She said she had a small cushion. When she told me the amount, my stomach dropped. It wouldn't last more than a month, too, at best. No steady income while trying to build from zero. I pressed gently. Did she account for the time it takes to break even, let alone profit? She brushed it off, told me not to worry, said she had a solid plan, and that momentum would arrive within weeks. She sounded confident enough to make me doubt my doubts, but the reservation stayed. I've watched dreams become debt. I've watched optimism turn into collections. I didn't push. I figured she might prove me wrong. She didn't. The store stalled almost immediately. Sales didn't show up. Products didn't move. The cushion thinned faster than she'd imagined. Rent went overdue. Then came the call with the voice that shakes her car had been repossessed. The fear and embarrassment were all over her. She was spiraling. I wasn't going to watch someone I loved drown in inches of water, so I told her to move in. I had the space. The bills were covered by me anyway. I also handed her keys to my old car. It still ran fine, and I didn't need it with the company SUV. Not long after she settled in, the strange calls started. At first I ignored them, unknown numbers that looked like spam. One day, I picked up. "Your girlfriend owes us money. If she doesn't pay soon, we'll pursue legal action." I had no idea who they were, how they got my number, or more importantly, why Allison hadn't told me she was in debt. I told them I'd look into it and hung up. I called her. No answer. I left a voice note asking for clarity. Hours later, she texted, "Sorry, debt real." Blamed the failed business. said she was trying to handle it alone. Then came the voice note. Please help me pay it. I'll repay you when I'm back on my feet. I was more upset about this secrecy than the numbers. If she'd come to me early, I would have understood. Letting it get to strangers threatening me at work, that felt different. I paid it anyway. Eventually, she asked for a loan to restart. This time, she brought a plan, listed what she'd learned, how she'd move slower, build properly. I listened. I gave her the money. She started using my old laptop for the store. It made sense. My apartment quietly turned into our place in her vocabulary. In reality, the bill still drafted from my account. She said she needed to reinvest profits. I agreed to patience. I believed in her. Months of trial and error turned into traction. The site got real traffic. Orders began to stack. People tagged her page. For the first time, it looked like her dream had legs. I was genuinely happy. Marriage was always in my long view, but I'd held off for a reason. Now that her business could carry itself, and she wasn't asking for every dollar, it felt like the right time. Quietly, I reached out to her sister, told her what I wanted to do, and asked for help planning something that felt like Allison. Meanwhile, I ordered a custom ring that took a good bite out of savings, and I didn't care. I was all in. Before any of it could come together, everything turned. We were both worn out one evening, me from work, her from packing orders. Neither of us wanted to cook, so I offered to order food. She usually handled it. Her DoorDash account was set up. I never bothered. I picked up her phone like I'd done 100 times. While I was looking for the app, my thumb paused. Tinder. A dating app sitting in plain sight. Confusion got to the door before anger did. I opened it. Dozens of messages. Men flirting, calling her beautiful, asking to meet, saying things I won't repeat. She was replying. Nothing looked like it had crossed the line to a meetup yet, but that wasn't the point. Allison, I called. She came into the living room drying her hands on a towel. What is this? I held out the phone, app open. She glanced once, shrugged, and said, Oh, that. It's nothing. I don't meet anyone. I just like the attention sometimes. I scrolled again. The content hadn't changed. The context had. Maybe she hadn't met anyone yet. But if I hadn't found it, what stops next week? Or the week after? What kind of person downloads a dating app for attention while living with someone planning to propose? That night, something changed in me. Not a loud breaking, something quieter. Disappointment does that. Our routine was simple. No matter how long the day had been, I always kissed her goodnight and held her before sleep. I couldn't do it. I lay there under the same roof, feeling like the story had moved a few scenes ahead without me. The next days felt like walking a minefield by memory. Allison started picking fights. She'd snap about what time I came home, scold about the trash, complain I hadn't noticed the groceries. None of it was new behavior by itself. The edge was. It felt like she needed me to be the villain so she could justify what the phone already told me. When I tried to talk, I told her the harmless attention story didn't remove the betrayal from the act. If validation from strangers was necessary, we had a bigger problem than an app. She flipped the board, called me controlling, rigid, insecure. Suddenly, I was the line crosser. One evening, the volume rose. Mid-argument, she grabbed her purse and keys and left. I stayed on the couch, expecting the usual cool off, return, pretend normal. Hours stretched. Around midnight, I texted, "Where are you?" No reply. I stayed up checking my phone every few minutes, fighting the urge to fill silence with worst-case explanations. Morning brought the message. I found someone else. I want nothing more to do with you. Don't call or text me again. My stomach dropped. Rage tried to take the wheel. Had he been around while I was paying her debts and handing her my car keys? Or was this just a twist of the knife? Every emotion showed up at once. I didn't let any of them make me stupid. I typed 3 words. As you wish. That was all. I got home from work and knew she'd come by while I was gone. Everything that was hers was gone, and some things that weren't. The car I'd lent her, the laptop I'd let her use, a handful of electronics and household items I'd bought. The note wasn't bluff. The exit was real. That's when another switch flipped. I was done making it easy. I texted my lawyer. We need to talk first thing. If she wanted to end it like this, she was going to learn how consequences work. Next morning, I sat across from him and laid it out. The car, the laptop, the money trail I'd taken on my shoulders. I want it all back, I said. I worked for this. She doesn't get to walk off with my generosity like it's part of the decor. He listened, took notes, and started drafting a demand letter on the spot. Immediate return of the car and laptop. Repayment of outstanding debts. Clear deadline. Clear consequence. Ignore this, and we file. I reviewed it, signed, and waited. Nothing. No acknowledgement. Days passed. My lawyer followed up, once still nothing. Either she thought I wouldn't follow through, or she'd convinced herself I didn't have a spine. We filed. The court issued a summons. Then came the call from an unfamiliar number. I answered, thinking it was work. It was her lawyer, easing into the kind of tone people use to sound reasonable. We need to discuss the situation. You can't just take everything. I breathed and said, actually, I can, and I will. I intend to take everything that's legally mine, and if possible, more. If you want to talk further, call my lawyer. I ended the call. From there, everything ran through the system. Court dates set. Documents submitted. To her surprise, I had receipts literally. Title and insurance proving the car was mine. Purchase receipt for the laptop. Text threads where she acknowledged debts and promised repayment. Bank statements showing transfers. My lawyer looked at the file and said, "You've got a solid case. Don't budge." That's when Allison shifted tone. Through her lawyer this time. Would I be open to a private settlement? The same person who walked out like I was disposable wanted to negotiate. I told her she could return the car and laptop immediately and reimburse me for every dollar I'd paid on her behalf. Because she ignored the letter and forced me into filing, she could also cover my legal fees. Or we'd see it through in court. Eventually, the car came back. The laptop, too. When it came to money, she said the business wasn't doing well and asked for time. She tried to appeal to history, just a little breathing room. I didn't argue or explain. I told my lawyer to keep moving. The judge put a structured payment plan in place. She had to stick to it. First month, she paid on time. I'll give her that. A small part of me wondered if she'd follow through. Either way, I kept my distance and let the process do its job. Second month, my phone lit with her name. A voice note. I pressed play. Warmth in the voice that didn't land. She said she was sorry, that she regretted how it ended, that we didn't have to be enemies. "Can we at least be friends?" she asked. Saying the legal stuff made her feel cold, like we were strangers. It was surreal, hearing someone try to rename a fracture as a rough patch. I didn't answer with anger. I texted, "Please, just focus on paying what you owe." No lecture. When explanations might have mattered, she chose silence. Now that money had a schedule, suddenly I was worth talking to again. The messages didn't stop. Old memories surfaced in her texts like bait, as if reminding me of good days would erase the way she walked out and emptied my shelves. I wasn't angry so much as done. Done being a soft place to land when Plan B failed. Done being used as an emotional battery backup. I didn't have a fight left in me for this. I wanted the chapter closed, so I sent one final line. All future communication should go through my lawyer. That's where this ends. And I meant it. Now the focus is forward. Protecting your peace sometimes means letting other people live with the outcomes of their own choices. I was a supportive partner once. Now I'm a man who knows what he deserves and what he no longer owes anyone.